Welcome to the Tarryn Reeves Show, where your journey to empowerment takes center stage. I'm your host, Tarryn Reeves, best-selling author and publishing expert. Together, we'll dive into the hearts and minds of visionaries, disruptors, and trailblazing leaders to explore the most compelling and thought-provoking ideas in life, business, and marketing. Let's inspire, impact, and ignite. This is the Tarryn Reeves Show. Alrighty, welcome to another episode of the Tarryn Reeves Show. Today, I have got the amazing Dr. Gina Nick, all the way from California. She is a world-renowned naturopathic physician, researcher, and formulator based in Newport Beach. With a dedication to holistic wellness, she's known for her expertise in treating a wide range of health concerns from autoimmune diseases to addiction recovery, anxiety, and more. That sounds pretty darn amazing to me. After graduation from medical school, she became the director of research for a leading supplement company, earning the company billions. She's since held the roles of executive healthcare consultant to local and government agencies and president emeritus of the California Naturopathic Doctors Association. Forgive me, Gina, if I completely butchered the name of that association. As the founder and director of HealthBridge in Newport Beach, California, her practice was awarded Top Medical Practice 2017, a testament to her commitment to excellence. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Dr. Gina, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Tarryn.
My absolute pleasure. Now, do you prefer Dr. Gina or Dr. Nick?
Dr. Gina.
Dr. Gina. That sounds so much more friendly, doesn't it? Alrighty. Now, we were having a brief chat before we hopped on and pressed record about this amazing thing called glutathione, or as you guys have recently trademarked it, vitamin G. What is it and why is it so vital for our health?
I love saying vitamin. That is so beautiful. So vitamin G is the mother of all antioxidants, Tarryn. So it is the master antioxidant in our bodies. All of our cells make it naturally. It's found in a lot of food, but it is the most important antioxidant that we have access to. And it is responsible for detoxification. It's very important for removing toxins from our cells, removing heavy metals. There's a lot of glutathione manufactured in the liver, which is a major detoxification organ. So it's very important for helping to clear out hormones and balancing hormones. Glutathione also helps to lower inflammation in the body and inflammation in the brain. I talk a lot about something called neuroinflammation, which is basically inflammation in the brain. And that can happen when you have exposure to viruses and bacteria, you're fighting infections, when you have a chronic condition with an inflammatory component. So things like rheumatoid arthritis and even cancer and things like that can trigger neuroinflammation. And glutathione is so important for helping to keep that at bay. When you have that inflammation in the brain, that leads to addictive behaviors, anxiety, depression. There's something called sickness syndrome that kind of ties this all together. But a lot of mental health issues can be associated with inflammation in the brain. And so glutathione, it's found in the mitochondria of our cells, the powerhouse of our cells, right? So that's how energy is produced. So it's like the mitochondria is where it's at.
Yeah.
And toxins from our environment, guess where they tend to congregate? Right in the mitochondria, the powerhouse of our cells, causing DNA damage, causing energy deficits, and so forth. And glutathione is there to help protect our cells from that. But when we're exposed to a lot of different toxins, which these days it's hard to avoid, and it just seems to be our exposure seems to be increasing exponentially over the past decades. And I don't see that really stopping anytime soon, maybe. And so the amount of glutathione in our body goes down because it gets depleted. And then we have low glutathione, and that leads to inflammation, toxicity reactions, and so forth.
I've studied radiation therapy. I've studied a lot of biology things, and I've never even heard of it. This is crazy to me that we don't know about something that's so obviously important to our well-being.
Funny you bring up radiation, because I just gave a talk at the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine, which is in the US. They have an annual conference called Longevity Fest, which is amazing. Yeah, it's in Vegas every year, and it brings together over 7,000 physicians from all over the world speaking about some of the more up and coming treatments and research and therapies and so forth. So, anyway, I spoke on the use of glutathione to protect our cells and help to treat from damage from exposure to radiation. And I
Wow.
went into all the research, whether it's radiation therapy, cancer, and the
Yeah.
damage that's done in reversing that damage, or it's protecting from things like electromagnetic frequencies and X-rays and so forth. So
Mm.
it's a really fascinating area.
It definitely is. And having studied it, I would envision for the future a beautiful, more holistic healthcare system where if you do have something like radiation treatment and we're really aggressively targeting cancer, it is doing damage to your healthy cells and it makes you feel like crap. I've always said if I, God forbid, ever do get cancer, I wouldn't get radiation therapy. That's a personal choice for me, just because I can see the damage and how sick it makes you. And it doesn't always work, unfortunately. But imagine if you then had a physician who then goes, okay, now we're going to give you glutathione to do this, and we're going to give you
Yes.
something else to do this, and have a more holistic healthcare system. Do you think that's possible?
100%, it's happening. It is happening, Taryn. So, because the
Wonderful.
research is there, I spent more time preparing this presentation than I've ever spent on a
Yeah.
there were originally there were like 90 something slides for a half-hour presentation. I've pared it down to 72 slides and I'm like, "Sorry, I'm keeping it all in so that
Yeah.
doctors can reference it later." I didn't talk
Yeah.
about everything on the slide. But the research is there and it shows you can prepare the body for exposure to radiation, and there's a protocol that's been well researched to
Mm.
help using primarily glutathione to prepare the body, and then after radiation to help repair the body. In fact, if there's radiation for head and neck cancers, for example,
Mm.
and there's damage to some of the nerves, right?
Yeah.
It can be damage that happened 2 years ago, right? And with no reversal. And if you give glutathione in this particular protocol, it will reverse the damage done to cranial nerves, which is unheard of. Right
Yeah.
now, there's no other real good treatment. After radiation, it's like, okay, we dealt with your cancer. Sorry, you now have this permanent cranial nerve damage. No, no, that's not the case. There are thousands and thousands of documented cases where you have a reversal of the damage, which is to me amazing.
Mm.
If you give the glutathione right after radiation, you prevent that from happening. And the
Yeah.
longer you wait, the longer it takes, but the reversal happens. And that's really the message. It's like the body has the ability to heal itself.
Mm.
Give it what it needs,
That's
and
amazing.
remove the barriers to cure.
The glutathione that you give, is it a supplementation form? Is it an injection? Is it topical? Talk to me about that. Like, how does the body get something that's naturally within us from outside of us? How are we delivering that?
Yeah. So basically, glutathione, it's a combination of three amino acids.
Mhm.
Right? So it's a tripeptide. So it's
Yep.
glycine, glutamic acid, and cysteine. And so your body makes it naturally. But then as we get older, our levels decline. As we're exposed to stress, our levels decline. As we're exposed to more toxins, our levels decline, et cetera. We can get it through foods, things like broccoli and fresh fruits and vegetables, even high quality meat, not grown with hormones and so forth, grass fed beef will have glutathione levels in it,
Yeah.
lower levels. But my whole thing is when I look at the whole landscape, you need some level of supplementation. We do. And I test patients in my practice to see, and 9 times out of 10, they are deficient in glutathione.
Mm.
So anyway, then you look at supplementation. And so I'm a fan of give your body what it needs, but don't give it too much
Yeah.
because it's all about balance. Your body's always trying to stay in balance. So there are capsule forms, but
Mhm.
they tend to not be bioavailable. When you take it in oral form, this is a general statement, your stomach acids will break down the amino acids and it won't stay intact and get absorbed where you want it to go
Mm.
intracellularly. Now I have come across a form of glutathione where you can take it orally, and there's double-blind, placebo-controlled research showing that it actually boosts blood levels, and it's done through a natural fermentation process. So I'm passionate about that because I use that in a formula that I created, right?
Yeah.
So that's oral. There's also liposomal, which is another oral form where because of the fatty component, it can get better absorbed into the cells. That's the
Mm.
theory behind it, and there's research to show that. So there's liposomal. The challenge with liposomal, what I've seen over the years is it doesn't tend to taste very good, or you have to refrigerate it. And with anything, if my patients aren't gonna take it, I don't care how much research there is or how much I can sing from the rooftops, "This is going to help you." If it's not realistic, like your children or you are not going to take it daily
Mm.
as it's needed, what's the point? That's the challenge there. There are topical forms of glutathione, but they tend to smell bad, the good ones, the
Mhm.
ones that works, because
Yes.
glutathione has this horrible sulfur smell to it. There's a sulfur
Okay.
component. And then you go to injections. So you
Yep.
can do intramuscular injection or you can do IV
Mhm.
glutathione. It's very important to look at how you do that because there's a wrong way to do it and then there's a better way to do it. And then even sometimes I'll prescribe a nasal spray or you can do it through a nebulizer.
Yeah,
Those are
wow.
the main ways to get glutathione into the body. I've been using this for 2 decades in my practice, so I've tried all the different forms,
Yeah.
and my biggest thing was I wanna give the body what it needs without giving it too much, because from really researching glutathione, what I found was your body it's under tight homeostatic control.
Yes.
So, basically, too much is not good, too little is not good. So
Yeah.
give the body what it needs. So, yeah,
Amazing.
yeah.
Wow. So for those with like leaky gut syndrome or that sort of thing, or the MTFHR gene, like
Yes.
they don't absorb things like other people do.
Yeah.
Is that why you created your formula?
It's one of the reasons to support detoxification
Yeah.
more than anything. You've got to remove in order to heal leaky gut. Just as important as repairing the lining of the gut is removing the things that are causing the leaky gut in the first place. And so supporting your body has a beautiful system in place, the human detoxification system that's
Mm,
working 24/7 in every cell in your body to get rid of the stuff that causes harm, but that system gets bogged down.
yeah,
And
definitely.
that's where give your body what it needs to support it. And that's why I'm like, why doesn't everybody know about glutathione? Is it the word? It's hard to remember. What is it? But I see it as so, so important, as important, if not more important, even than vitamin C. And they
Mm,
work together. Vitamin C, glutathione, and vitamin E are your three main, those are like your foundation antioxidants that you need. And they all work together. And then there's all these other cofactors and things that help too. But those
yeah.
are your core, vitamin
Mm.
E, glutathione, and vitamin C.
The majority of people these days are deficient in all three. Yeah.
I mean, our foods are not what they used to be. I always advocate for eat locally grown, organic, but that's hard to do all the
Mm.
time in our life with just everybody's lifestyle these days. We were talking, you and I, about how we have so many tabs open on our computer and we're focused on you have a passion, you're interested in holistic health. I live, breathe it, and it's
Yeah.
still hard, right? And so
Yeah.
what if you're not living and breathing this type of medicine or this lifestyle or you just haven't been exposed to it yet, right? So anyway, it's something that everyone needs, and yes, I do think that most people will benefit from vitamin E, vitamin C, and glutathione.
Is that
They
deficiency found through a simple blood test?
testing for glutathione can be tricky
Okay.
because there's glutathione in your red blood cells, for example.
Mhm.
There's the glutathione found in all these different cells in your body, right? So how do you measure how much glutathione is in the brain versus in your liver? In this lecture I just gave, I broke down some of the better ways to measure glutathione levels. One of them is called erythrocyte glutathione. So you can measure the amount of glutathione in your red blood cells.
Mhm.
That's a good way. I'll typically also do a standard blood draw for total glutathione levels.
Yeah.
You can look at the ratio of reduced glutathione to total glutathione. So in your
Mhm.
body, there's a cyclical thing that happens where reduced glutathione is the active form. It's a form that your body uses to do all the things it does.
Yeah.
As it's detoxifying, as it's doing those things, it gets used up, right? So it turns to an oxidized form. And then you need other antioxidants to convert it back to, and cofactors to convert it back to the active form.
Yeah.
And so there's a cyclical thing that happens. So you can measure the ratio of the reduced glutathione to the oxidized glutathione. And it's supposed to be like 100 to 1.
Yeah.
So that's so you can see, okay, where is it at really? Because I always tell patients and doctors, it's not just about giving a bunch of glutathione, right? Because you also, when you give a bunch of glutathione, your body, as it's getting oxidized, it uses up a lot of your own minerals, zinc, selenium, vitamin C, and so forth to go back to the active form. So
Yeah.
don't just give glutathione at high doses. Give
Yeah.
some of the cofactors, the precursors, etc., so that the body can stay in balance. And that ratio, which is really important, remains intact.
Yeah. Amazing. I'm
Mm.
excited about the future of healthcare with you at the helm, Dr. Gina. I have hope.
There's a lot happening. And it's been, I mean, I haven't been the most patient person in the world. And so God has tested me with regard to patience, right? Because
Yes.
I've been talking about this for 25 years. However, I see a major shift happening now where most people didn't believe in nutritional supplements or they thought they were, a waste or just expensive urine. Now, that's not the case. Most people take some sort of a nutritional supplement. I'm
Yeah.
an advocate for working with a professional who knows how to guide you based on your own health or do lab tests to know what your body really needs. But we're in a different world now. And I think people are more aware of the impact that their diet is having on their health. And so now it's just going to the government level of making it so that things like eating healthy food is incentivized.
Yes.
Growing healthy food is incentivized. So
Mm.
that pendulum needs to swing back to center
Yeah. Yeah.
because 70% of our healthcare dollars are spent, at least in the US, are spent on chronic disease care,
Hmm.
most of which is preventable
Yeah.
through diet and lifestyle factors.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a lot that can be done. I'm always saying at the end of the day, we are all responsible for ourselves. So,
Hmm.
first and foremost, take responsibility for your own health.
Yeah.
Do the
Everything's
research.
a choice, right? Like you can choose to go and make a healthy meal at home with the stuff that you have in the fridge, or you can choose to go to McDonald's. Like
Right. Right.
it's a choice, what
Right.
you put in your mouth.
And then there's
And
consequences for it. And it's about balance. I like to keep it real because I'm in the trenches with patients. I
yeah,
can be like, "Oh, eat all pure organic foods all the time." And even if you're a
not
busy
realistic.
mom and doing the things, no, don't ever drive through a drive-through even though your kids are starving and you got to get them to their next track meet. Come on.
Yeah.
So it's about what you do most of the time. It's those
Mm.
daily habits. So be mindful of that.
Mhm.
Don't be going through that drive-through daily if you can avoid it. Take steps to slowly shift over to yes, cooking more at home is one of in terms of like biggest bang for your buck. Taking the
Mm.
time to prepare food at home is so valuable to you and your family's health and well-being
Yeah.
as often as you're able to. You know.
Yeah. And I'm so passionate about growing my own food. I have a huge thing happening out the back here.
Really? What are you growing?
At the moment, what have I got?
Awesome.
I've got pineapple, I've got apples, I've got blueberries,
Oh,
guavas, corn, beans, carrots, lettuce,
that's
tomato.
amazing.
But the difference in taste
Oh my god.
is phenomenal. You buy something from the supermarket and then you have something else. And I've done it with my kids. I love doing it. I'm like, all right, here's one from Coles and here's one from our garden. Close your eyes. Coles is our supermarket over
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Close your eyes and taste and tell me which one tastes better. And they're like, oh, this one's so much better. I'm like, yeah, that's one we grew without any chemicals. And it's just teaching them because I find it so sad that majority of kids these days, I've got kids ranging from 13 to 1.
Yeah.
And so many kids these days, like in their class, think that their meat comes from wrapped in plastic in a supermarket. I'm like, no, that was a cow. And
There's
I
a
know
di
that's a harsh reality, but I'm from Africa originally and I grew up on a farm. So I'm like,
Yeah.
no, that
Oh,
was a cow.
wow. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, newsflash. Yeah.
No, that bacon you're eating was a pig. And
Mhm.
that's fine. But don't think that it just comes conveniently wrapped in a plastic. Same with their fruit and veg. I'm like, well, where did that come from? Did it come off a tree? Did it come out the ground? And they don't know.
Yes.
And that to me is sad. I wish that schools really taught more valuable things than algebra and geography. I'm like, that's great. But if you're not going to grow up to be a weather person or a physicist, we don't really need those skills. How about we teach critical conversations? How about we teach healthy financials? How about we teach proper nutrition?
Yes.
And because I've got 3 bonus kids and they're the older ones, and they said, well,
because I'm always on at them about sugar. My gosh, the
Yes.
amount of sugar that they have. And it's a habit that came before me, but they're like, I have no idea about sugar. I'm like, well, first of all, you shouldn't be having 4 tablespoons of sugar on your wheat bix. That's insane. How about we try honey if you really must have anything?
Mhm.
And they're like, well, what does sugar do in your body? And honestly, I struggled to answer the question because I'm like, I have to answer this
Oh,
very carefully in a way that a child's going to understand
yes, yes.
why I think that amount of sugar is bad for them. I mean, I think any amount of sugar is bad, but theirs is ridiculous.
It acts like a drug.
It is.
So
Yeah.
you
It's
have
made
no,
with
that's, I
brain
mean, that's
chemistry.
the research no, for real though. I mean,
Mhm.
the research is there. There's no question. It is
Yeah.
as addictive as cocaine.
Yep.
That's been documented. That's a reality. It competes for binding sites with vitamin C.
Mm.
And so the more sugar you eat, the less vitamin C you have in your body, basic antioxidant for
Yeah.
immune function and health. It wreaks havoc on all areas of your body. It is highly addictive. It causes a dopamine surge, right? And so you have these highs and these lows. And anybody,
Mhm.
I was with my daughter, it's like, okay, I tried to tell her she was raised all handmade everything.
Yeah.
Oh, but yeah. And so she's an exception. However, she's now 12 and a half, right? I'm like, okay, I'm not going to tell her you can't have that cupcake. That's just not how I want to raise her. I
Yeah.
want her to be able to, on her own, discern and make those choices for herself, not because mom told her not to eat, right?
Mm.
Kind of at that point. Anyway, if she'll say, "Hey, mom, can I have this cupcake?" I'll say, "Well, what does your body tell you? Like,
Mm.
don't ask me. Ask yourself. It's your
Yeah.
body, your responsibility, what sugar does, etc." Anyway, if she does have a bite of it, I'll be like, "Okay, let's see how you feel right now, and then talk to me in 30 minutes.
Mm.
Tell me how you're feeling." To just kind of help her make the association, and she knows. So she
Yeah.
naturally won't overdo it,
Yeah.
but it's a tough one. That's why with I made glutathione into a pixie stick.
Oh,
So I'm like,
really?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's funny you brought up sugar because and it was during Halloween. I'm like, I'm gonna hack sugar,
Yeah.
and the idea came actually during COVID, and then I was talking to a colleague of mine, and they're like, "You need to introduce this to the world on Halloween and basically hack sugar." And
Mhm.
so I feel like it was divinely guided, but the formula came back and it tastes like a pixie stick. It really, really does. And so,
Yum.
and I have like little kids in my neighborhood that this tastes better than a pixie stick. Like, oh, but it's actually good for your brain and
Yeah.
it's helping to treat addictive type issues and so forth. You know what
Mm.
I'm saying? And so there are
Yeah.
ways to pivot and help kids get out of that sugar addiction.
Yeah.
I will tell you so because you were saying how you didn't have a lot of influence initially, and so it's got to be tough, right? Okay, so one of my oldest nephew and I adore him, and he just wouldn't eat anything but sugar. And I'm sitting here out of naturopathic medical school, being like, you can't do this. This is horrible." But this kid would eat nothing but sugar. I would just continue to educate. I would just
Yep.
make comments, I would share, I send him and now fast forward, and he's now 22, won't touch sugar. Eats no sugar. He just completely pivoted. So in his own time,
Yep.
right, it happened. And so
Yep.
I never gave up. I was always, like, talking about it, and I'd be the annoying aunt, like, "Okay, okay," but it worked eventually. So
Yeah.
it is about educating, and kids are very smart,
Yeah.
and it's really about reminding them that they're responsible for their own health.
Mm.
At the end of the day, they
That's
really are,
yeah.
and so they need to make decisions to take care of their bodies. They want their bodies to work for them
Yeah,
long term, you
definitely.
know?
Interesting. Now, I want to just dive into something that I found really interesting when I was traveling in the US because it was my first time in June 2022 when I went over for a book tour. And I was a vegetarian at the time. I ate super clean. I didn't drink. I didn't any of those things. I do now, fallen off the bandwagon. But back then, like when I arrived, I found it really hard to find anything healthy to eat. Like at the buffets, like the breakfast place, it was like, these huge slabs of bacon that you couldn't order if
I know.
it wasn't already covered in maple syrup. Like even like the caffeinated like coffee drinks, Starbucks drinks that you get from a service station, right? Ours here do not have the same level of sugar as they do in the US. And I find that so interesting because I went to get, and I don't even drink these usually, but it was a long road trip and I was tired. I was like, all right, I'm going to grab this coffee drink from the
Yeah,
service station. And I took one sip of it and I was like, holy hell,
I
like
know.
what is in this? It's like this is
Drug.
diabolical. I couldn't drink it. I had to throw it out. I was
Yeah.
like, this is so sweet. Is that common over there? Like that It is.
Yes.
Wow.
And then you look at the foods that are marketed to kids, it's
Mm,
horrific in terms of
yep,
the sugar content, absolutely, but then also the artificial colors, the
yep,
dyes that are used in
mhm.
the US that aren't used in other parts of the world. Same
100%.
like you heard the whole Fruit Loops controversy
I have
out.
not, but I
Well,
will
so
not let my kids eat Fruit Loops. I'm
yeah,
like,
no,
that's
no.
not coming in this house."
No, no. But in, like, Europe, the Fruit Loops are dyed with natural colors, right?
Okay.
Like, and so, like, how you and I would if we were gonna bake or whatnot, instead of using the artificial dyes, you'll use beet color or
Yeah.
blueberry, whatever. Well, but in the US, same product, Fruit Loops, Kellogg's Fruit Loops, uses artificial dyes proven to be carcinogenic.
Mhm.
And so there was this whole movement recently, and it was like to ban basically, parents stood up and said, "This is ridiculous. Why are you poisoning our kids?" Right?
Mhm.
And now, like Fruit Loops, it was like everything went on half price at the store when you go to the the shelves for Fruit Loops because people were like, "Wait a second, I don't wanna consume this."
Yeah.
And so the US, there's gonna be a lot of changes coming over the
Yeah.
next 4 years in my opinion, where there's gonna be a real magnifying glass put on what is going into our food supply.
Mm.
Because there's the issue of big pharma and the pharmaceuticals and over-medicating. That's a big issue.
Yes.
Then there's the agribusiness and
Mhm.
the Grocery Manufacturers Association and what is being allowed to be fed to our children, and I'll start with our children, right?
Mm.
Because they've got developing brains, they don't have a choice, they're not educated enough to know, right? And so creating these junk products, most of the cereals are a waste.
Oh,
They're
horrible.
horrible for you. It is just a crime. It's a
Mm.
crime in my opinion, and it's causing a lot of harm.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Absolutely 100%. And like you said, they don't have a choice and they don't know, like, and then then they get mums like us who are like, "You can't have strawberry jam." Like, I wouldn't even buy jam. Like,
Yeah,
my
no.
kids have never had jam. And
Mhm.
then my bonus kids come along and they literally beg me on the grocery list, "Please, please, please buy jam." And I'm like, "No." And then I was like, this is like week 5 of them begging me for jam. And I'm like, "Just buy the damn jam." Like, it's
Mhm.
school holidays.
I know,
I
I
went
know,
and bought the jam,
I
right?
know.
And I'm like, "Do you know how much
Frustrating.
sugar is in this?" But it does come down to consumerism. And you said something interesting. All the parents stood up and they were like, "You are poisoning our kids." But it's also a choice of the parents to purchase that product because it comes down to supply and demand.
But when the parents don't, that's what I'm saying, like, we're all so busy, and I feel
Yep.
fortunate that I'm in this field and it's, like, around me all the time, but
Yep.
I do not expect all parents to have the time and the knowledge, and it's tricky because a
Mhm.
package can say natural and naturally flavored, but it's using
Yeah.
things like sucralose, which is
Yeah.
another right? And so it's confusing, and
It
it's
is
and people are
confusing.
overwhelmed, and they're like, "I just need to feed my child," right?
Mm.
And so I
Mhm.
get that. And so I do see, yes, parents absolutely educate yourselves and do what you can. You must. It's and not just you must, but it's one of the most important ways to nurture your child and protect your child is by really educating yourself on the importance of healthy food for your kids. It's so, so, so crucial. But also, I put the onus on the Grocery Manufacturers Association, what they're allowing
Mhm.
into our food supply, hydrogenated oils
Yep.
are horrific for our cells. I mean, they block cell-to-cell communication, they harden arteries, etcetera, cause inflammation, artificial dyes, artificial colors. It's not necessary. These things are not necessary, and so they need to be taken out.
Yeah.
And diet plays such a crucial role in your health.
Mm.
You eat every day, usually around 3 times a day. So think about the impact that food
Mm.
has on our health. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable, and so I'm hopeful, and it won't take a lot to see major shifts in health
Yeah.
by shifting what, is in our food supply and
Mm.
getting back to respecting nature, encouraging people to have their own gardens, and I'm so thankful I found a school for my daughter that it's a charter school, but they have
Mhm.
a garden in the middle of the school, and
Oh,
that was, for
awesome.
me, the biggest selling point. Like, okay,
Mm.
she's gonna be walking by this garden every day, and now she has agriculture, and she loves that class but that's because we've been growing stuff, and so
Yeah.
she's has a connection with it. So taking time to teach your kids about sprouting seeds and letting them like watch them
Yeah.
grow and then plant them and see the fruit, the tree bear fruit, etc. is it's magical, and it helps connect kids to the source of what they're consuming.
Yeah. I love that. There is hope, like I said.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about immunity. Immunity is always a hot topic, right? And I
Yeah.
feel like, oh, this household, and I know you over there would have experienced the same. Like, there's disease after virus, after bacterial infection, after gastro infection.
I know. Mm.
Especially when you've got like kids at all different ages, different schools. It's like all of these petri dishes that they go and wallow around and they
I
bring it
know.
home. And next minute, everyone's sick. What are some of the most significant health benefits of boosting your glutathione or
Yeah.
vitamin G
Uh-huh.
levels when it comes to immunity?
Oh, it's crucial. It is crucial for improving immune function. It actually, glutathione helps to activate the immune system. And it
Mhm.
works as this is, again, it speaks to the brilliance of the human body, but it works as an immunomodulator. So
Okay.
it will boost immune function when that's needed. And then it'll calm the immune system down, because sometimes you can have an overactivation of the immune system. And there can
Mm.
be what's called a cytokine storm, where there's too much inflammation in the body because your
Yeah.
immune cells are like, we got to fight this, we got to fight this, but it goes out of control. So
Wow.
glutathione will actually help to modulate. So it'll boost immune function when needed, and then it'll help to calm it down when there's too much inflammation. So it's a beautiful antioxidant for supporting immune function. And I
Yeah.
also recommend, like in my formula, I add vitamin D3 and vitamin C and zinc and
Mhm.
magnesium and glycine, which are all very important for the manufacture of glutathione, but also all very important for immune function.
Yeah.
Um,
Amazing. It
yeah.
sounds like the right little powerhouse.
Yeah.
Now, I also want to talk about hormones
Yeah.
because you mentioned that this little amazing supplement that we can have and obviously produce naturally plays a role in hormone balancing. And so many women have all of these hormone issues now. And it's really no wonder when you look at what we put on our skin and in our mouths and what we're breathing, our hormone systems are going crazy. And as a woman, our hormones are cycling all the time. And it's a ride in itself when it is healthy. Right? Like when it's not healthy. So, how does glutathione play a part in hormonal health? And I want to know, in particularly women approaching or experiencing menopause.
Yes. When so as you're approaching menopause, it can be like a 10-year process. As
Hmm.
your hormones slowly decline over time, right? And it can take 10 years. But during that 10-year period, or however long it is for you, your hormones are high and then they're low, they're all over the place. And glutathione just helps to calm it all down, to balance it. And so when your hormone levels are too high, it helps to clear them out of your body quicker. But it also helps to just balance out the estrogen and progesterone levels. And so I first came out with a glutathione and vitamin C capsule, right? Because I found this form of glutathione that actually was bioavailable, even when you took an oral form, which is unusual. And so the most remarkable thing when I created it, I wasn't even thinking about women going through like perimenopause and menopause. It wasn't a reason I was formulating it, but I treat a lot of women with that. And they were coming back to me saying, oh my gosh, this is a game changer. I feel better. I'm sleeping better. My hot flashes went away. One of my patients who she actually did a full testimonial for me, but she won't take any hormones. She doesn't feel comfortable with that. She won't take any supplements. She's like, I'm just not into any of that. However, she took the glutathione. It's called Best Daily Ever, the capsules. And she said, with that, I've had no issues, no
Mm.
hormonal issues, no hot flashes, no sleep issues, where before she was waking up at 3 o'clock every morning and it was a nightmare and she was having hot flashes, all those symptoms. And it just resolved it for her, just taking that. And so
Wow.
then I took the time to really research the role that glutathione plays in hormone balance. And it plays a very significant role, especially for women going through perimenopause and menopause. When you're going through that period, it triggers neuroinflammation. It triggers inflammation in the brain, and it leads to major anxiety and depression and mood swings and all the things every woman knows about, right?
Yes.
So glutathione can play a huge role in keeping that balance. Just that
Mhm.
one antioxidant. And so yeah, there is very good research that women who are deficient in glutathione have worse symptoms of menopause and perimenopause, and women who supplement with glutathione, those symptoms are resolved. And so that's what the
Simple as
research
that,
shows.
huh?
It's truly that simple. And
Amazing.
the key is making sure that you're keeping those glutathione levels balanced. And so,
Mhm.
yes, supplementation, I'm a big proponent for. Also foods, right? So taking in those essentially whole foods, fresh fruits and
Yeah.
vegetables, primarily vegetables that are members of the cruciferous family, broccoli, kale, those things, because of what's called the isothiocyanates that are
Yeah.
in there that actually trigger a transcription factor that triggers your body's own production of glutathione.
Mm.
What's interesting about that is, do you remember when all the research came out on broccoli sprouts as anti-cancer? Everybody started
I
talking about
do
broccoli.
not.
No.
No.
Oh, okay. This was years ago, but it became very popular. There was research that came out of Harvard saying broccoli sprouts help to prevent cancer. Period.
Wow.
And it was because of these isothiocyanates, these chemicals. Well, it turns out that those chemicals trigger something called NRF2, whatever. It's a transcription factor that triggers your body's own manufacture of reduced glutathione. And it's the
Okay.
reduced glutathione that's actually having the effect,
On the
that
cancer.
anti-cancer effect.
Amazing.
Yeah, by consuming those foods. So,
Wow. And it can be simple. It's just a matter of discipline and education, really, when it comes down to it. Because I mean, like, who doesn't want to have a cupcake? And I will eat a whole bar of Cadbury fruit and nut. I'm definitely no saint when it
yeah.
comes to that. But the difference it can make you feel is amazing. I want to talk about best daily ever because you just mentioned that. It sounds to me like it's something that can help you achieve peak health because that lady you mentioned who had the testimonial, she wasn't specifically taking it for her hormones, right?
Mhm.
Can you tell me more about that concept and how it can help people, or even let's go even deeper, entrepreneurs like me, jumpstart their business, get their right energy, the right mindset, right health?
Yes. I mean, I'll speak with specifically as a female entrepreneur,
Love
right?
it.
So
Let's do it.
women, I mean, I'm passionate about helping women
Mhm.
because I just see that we need more strong female, clear thinking women in leadership in our
Mhm.
world. And so if you're thinking clear, you're going to make better decisions.
Yeah.
Your hormones are balanced, you're going to have a more consistent experience with your business.
Yeah.
I have this theory that basically the health of your business is a direct reflection on the health of whoever's leading it.
Yeah.
And so the importance for women, because women tend to have a lot more roles, that they wear a lot more hats and they
Yes.
deal with these hormones. And we're
Mhm.
being bombarded with all of these toxins that affect our hormones. So it makes it more challenging to stay steady Eddie in order to run your business successfully and make good choices. So
Yes.
when you're talking about the importance of taking the time to take care of your health is crucial to you being able to think clearly, which
Mhm.
is crucial to making good business decisions so that your business can do what you intended for it to do.
Yeah.
Whatever that is, whatever, so you can truly breathe life to whatever it is that you're passionate about and you're trying to get out into the world. And so I mean, like I take the pixie sticks every day. Like I love
Mhm.
them. They taste good, but they're also, I know that I'm giving my body what it needs to operate at an optimal level when I'm faced with a lot of different roles. I'm a single
Yeah.
mother, entrepreneur, medical
Mhm.
practice, supplement company, etc., right? And so
Yeah.
I know I have to do these things to keep
Yes.
myself healthy. And I like to recommend the least amount of things that's going to give you the greatest effect. Like really address the foundational things first. Then you can fine tune with everything else. So
Yeah.
I really see glutathione and what I put in the Best Daily Ever formula as the foundation. It gives you that solid foundation. And then you can fine tune from there. It gives you more energy, helps with sleep, and helps you to think clearly.
Yeah. Amazing. So the
But
best daily ever, is it a capsule? Is it a supplement? What's in it?
yeah,
And where can people get this?
yeah, we're not in Australia yet.
Why
So I
not?
have to work on that. And so, but anyway, in the US for now, we have a capsule form, which is what I started with, just because I was like, I just wanted to get glutathione out there. My passion is making glutathione a household name, which is why
Yes.
I coined the phrase vitamin G. Like that's
Mhm.
easier to remember. And so my passion is really making sure that everybody knows about it and it's
Mhm.
accessible to everyone because I see the broad range of benefits that it gives people. So I started with a capsule just because that was the quickest way to get onto the market.
Yeah.
And now I have I love it, but it's a powdered pixie stick formula. So it
Mhm.
comes in these little sticks and it tastes like I said, like a pixie stick, but with no sugar. There's a little bit of stevia. Primarily, it's sweetened with glycine,
Mhm.
which has a slightly sweet flavor, but it's an amino acid that helps with
Yes.
blood sugar regulation and also helps with the production of glutathione. And so, anyway, the pixie sticks have glutathione, vitamin C, vitamin D3, magnesium, zinc. Um, and so it's just a very well-rounded, immune supportive formula and a
Yep.
way to give glutathione to kids. So we have a kids formula and an adult formula. So
Yes.
I envisioned those little pixie sticks going in every kid's lunchbox. I was
Yes.
homeschooling my daughter during COVID and I looked over at her and I'm like, how do I get glutathione into this child? Because during that time, there was research that came out showing that glutathione helped prevent a severe reaction to COVID.
Yeah,
And
wow.
and so I was like, "How do I get this in a dose that's safe, that's similar to what's naturally occurring in foods if we were all eating a perfect diet and weren't
Yep.
exposed to so many toxins?" And so that was where it started, and I was like, I used to like pixie sticks as a kid, and so I wanna make this into something that tastes just as good, but
Yep.
actually does the opposite in your brain to what sugar does.
Mm.
So,
That's so exciting. I can see a marketing slogan for vitamin G, like
yeah.
a bit of G-force in your day with
Oh, I
vitamin.
love it. I wanna use vitamin. I wanna say vitamin. No.
You have to come spend more time with me then.
Mhm.
Change the way we speak.
That sounds
Um,
very proper.
uh,
Vitamin.
Amazing. That is very, very exciting. Now, if obviously in the US, we can get glutathione from your supplement company in the capsules and the pixie sticks and all the fun stuff.
Yes.
What about in other parts of the world? How do people get their hands on glutathione?
And so look for well, there are nutritional supplements. So
Mhm.
depending and there's a brand of glutathione called Cetria,
Okay.
Setria. And that's the form that I use in the pixie sticks. So
Mhm.
it's a pricier form of glutathione, but that's the one that has the research proving that it boosts levels even if you take it in oral form. And
Mhm.
so I would say when you're looking at any go to the health food store and look at glutathione supplements, look to see that it has that. I'm a fan of branded ingredient. I've been in the supplement industry for a very long time. And
Yeah.
I just see that when, in general, if an ingredient on the label is branded, that company took the time to do the quality research to create a form that actually works and is
Yeah.
efficacious. And then the companies like my company that choose to use that branded ingredient, it also speaks to our discernment in determining what we're putting in these formulas.
Yes.
So just because a label says glutathione doesn't mean anything. It really
Exactly.
doesn't. So that's one little tip when you're looking at supplements, that are I often tell patients to, look at supplements that are marketed to healthcare professionals because
Mhm.
healthcare pro in general, they'll tend to have a more discerning eye, they have more knowledge and background on these things. Some of them, especially ones that actually would recommend supplements in the first place, have a little more
Yes.
background. And so that's another thing to consider when you're trying to pick a brand to use. And then ask a qualified healthcare professional who uses supplements in their practice. Ask, what do you recommend? And get some feedback that way as well.
Yeah.
Don't just rely on the clerk at the health food store to tell you, oh, because they just get, they have sales reps that come in and train them. And like, that's not how you should be deciding what.
Business. It is.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
that's not how you should be deciding what you're to consume and what to spend your money on to put in your body to help support your health and well being. Yeah. And you can do injections and IV and all that. But then again, make sure you're working with a qualified doctor who knows what they're doing and has been doing it for years,
Yep.
right? Because there are techniques there too. Don't just get an IV of just glutathione. It's not a good
Mm.
idea.
Yeah, it sounds like a bit of an overdose just flooding the system.
Right. So initially you might feel better, but then over time, if you keep doing that, it strips away all the cofactors. It eats away at the selenium and zinc, etc. And
Yep.
so you get a diminished benefit over time if it's not
Mm.
done properly.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. Ah, Dr. Gina, it has been an absolute pleasure. But before I let you go, because I feel like we could talk health stuff for hours and hours and hours, and maybe a future episode we will. But we have a tradition here on the Tarryn Reeves Show called the book drop. And I want to know, because I'm a massive book nerd, what book has impacted you either personally or professionally that you can recommend to our viewers and listeners today?
Well, so I've been asked this question before, and one of my colleagues is like, "You mentioned that book, but it's really is like like, so I'm gonna mention it again. Mind of the Cells.
Mind of the
Mind of
Cell.
the Cells. You can actually download the whole PDF of the book online by Satprem. And for some reason, that book just like opened my eyes to what's happening in our bodies and what happens through evolution. It's a spiritual type book,
Mhm.
but something about that book just captivated me and I aligned with it. And it truly has had the biggest impact
Wow.
on me. And so I have to say that book,
It actually
Mind of
sounds
the
really
Cells.
interesting. I'm going to go and add it to my
Yeah.
extensive to be read list in case
Yeah.
one day I have 795 years to do absolutely nothing and read all my books.
Yeah. There's so
But
much
that
going
sounds
on.
amazing. Mind of the Cells. Is
Mind of
that
the Cells.
Mind
Too.
of the Cells? Beautiful. Dr. Gina, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your wisdom with us. It has been truly mind opening.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure.
That's a wrap on today's episode. If you love the insights and inspiration, don't let it end here. Hit subscribe to stay connected and turn your visions into reality alongside our community of changemakers. I'm Tarryn Reeves. Thank you for joining me. And remember, your story has power. See you in the next episode.